Senate will come to order. The senators will take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will retire to the gallery. Good morning, senators. Good morning, guests. If you are able, senators and our guests, please stand. We will be led in prayer this morning by the Very Reverend Dr. Lynn Rinaldi of Historic Pohick Episcopal Church in Lorton. Following the prayer, everyone will please remain standing, and we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by our Senate page, Maceo Thomas of Portsmouth.
Let us pray. Lord God, we thank you for the life and witness of your servant George Washington. On this 291st anniversary of his birth, we give thanks that he grew into a divinely inspired leader of our great state and nation. Like each one of us, he struggled and grew in his faith throughout his lifetime. His early prayers revealed a simplistic belief that you would bring about a swift victory for these oppressed colonies. Yet days stretched into years of suffering and loss. Even as despair loomed, George Washington was transformed by your presence and love. He turned to you, embraced your mystery, and believed in what he called the inscrutable ways of providence. Today, in the midst of our divided and struggling world, we look to the godly witness of George Washington once again as an icon of genuine faith, humility, and hope. Help us to learn from his witness, for he sought to maintain balance and a middle ground. Rooted and grounded in a faith nurtured in his family and his church, his life was filled with hospitality, grace, civility, and justice. We are thankful for his tolerance of religious expression and his insistence on moderation and his struggle with moral issues of his day. We are eternally grateful for Washington's indispensable role in this Commonwealth, in the birth of our nation, and in the formation of his moral fiber. Help us as individuals, a state and nation, to mature likewise into a genuine and lived faith with integrity like his. Lord God, we ask you to anoint, guide, and bless the debate and decisions made this and every day in the Virginia Senate. May these men and women continue to seek your wisdom as they govern and serve your people with compassion and grace. In God's most holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll. All those present, please vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam President. Senate Journal for Friday, February 17th, 2023.
The senator from Washington, Senator Pillion, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. Those in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communications from the House of Delegates. Chair calls on the senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I move that we waive the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates.
The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? Those in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 4.
Ayes 35, noes 4. The reading of the communication is waived. The clerk will report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, Madam President.
We have quickly arrived at the time in our morning hour when we will hear who all of you wonderful guests are. And the normal procedure is the senator will rise and speak about you. And if you will rise at that time, then we'll know who you are. And I will make my remarks, and we will hold our applause until after my remarks. And so with that, I now call on Senator Somerville, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for 2 introductions.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, joining us today for our opening devotions was the Very Reverend Lynn Rinaldi, who joins us every year because she's the rector of the Pohick Church, which is the church in the 36th District. It's known as the Mother Church in Northern Virginia because it was the first Episcopal church north of the Occoquan River during colonial times. Dr. Rinaldi, the Very Reverend Dr. Rinaldi, has a very spent a lot of time in that community, in our community, presiding over it and giving us religious devotions. And she got her master's degree and her she's a PhD. I would also just note that it's an amazing church. If you ever get a chance to go look at it, the Pohick Church is it's an old style church. I took my first tour of it this year. And it has these box-style pews. You can go sit in George Mason's pew. You can sit in George Washington's pew. There's a lot of Civil War era graffiti in the church. It's a lot of really old history. And I would encourage any of you, it's 5 minutes off I-95. You get a chance to go by and say hi, go say hi to her. She's a wonderful leader in our community. She lives right next to the church, and maybe you'll see her if you stop by. Madam President, I hope you could give her the greetings of the Senate.
Please rise. The Very Reverend, and indeed the very learned Reverend, and I have visited your church. It's awesome to know that I can sit in the very pew that George Washington sat in, as well as other ambassadors and prime ministers and presidents, if I'm not mistaken. Wonderful history. Senators, let us give her the warm welcome of her Senate. Chair recognizes.
Second introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a second introduction. Madam President, joining us in the gallery today is my old intern, Ethan Lynn, and he brought with him from college Pratham Bamare and Sebastian Caldera. They're here visiting us from George Washington University on a field trip, learning all about, Ethan's back here revisiting the state capitol, but his friends are down here to see how we do business down here. And I would hope you could give them the warm welcome and welcome back of the Senate.
Please rise if you are here. Ah, there you are. Well, you know how things work here, and as an intern, it's an awesome responsibility to help the senators, especially one so busy as Senator Somerville. Thank you for making it happen, and welcome. Senators, please let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Donovan, the senator from Enrico.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator may continue.
Madam President and members of the gallery, I hope that you will welcome today, I hope Kathleen Barrett and her family. Kathleen is CEO of St. Joseph's Villa in Henrico County. I don't know how much you guys know about that organization, but it has been serving Henrico and Richmond for decades. And children's services, counseling, rapid reemployment, all sorts of services that they provide to make sure that those in need in Henrico get what they need, especially children's services. And one of the most remarkable programs they have there, and I hope someday I can get many of you members to go tour it, is their autism school. It is state of the art. And I will tell you, having toured many different autism programs across my area and the region, this is so unique because their entire objective is to advance children back to their grade level so that they can return to public school. And I think that they have a template that we could use very wisely in the state of Virginia. And Kathleen Barrett has been the CEO there for 17 years, really pivoting and creating a real answers to needs in Henrico because things have changed over that time. She's been an amazing CEO, and she's retiring this year. So I hope that you will give her a special welcome. I know that some of her family are here, and she's between the two bodies, but I hope she's with us now. And with that, Madam President, the warmest welcome from me and from all of us to Kathleen.
There you are. Thank you for coming, and thank you for what you have been doing, although you are going to be retiring, but I know you will be missed. And the fact that, as the senator said, you helped to return children with autism back to their full potential. What an awesome job that is. Every child, if we can help them to reach their potential, it's an absolute wonderful, purpose-filled life. Senators, let us give her the warm welcome of her Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Hashmi, the senior senator from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Today in the gallery, we have representatives from Paymerang, which is a software company based in my district in Chesterfield County. Paymerang uses artificial intelligence and other technologies to provide cutting-edge financial automation services to its clients. Their clientele exists across the United States, but here in Virginia, they work with institutions such as the College of William and Mary, the town of Big Stone Gap, and Randolph-Macon College. And this is in addition to numerous healthcare and education institutions, local governments, hospitality and manufacturing industries, as well as nonprofits, which are all part of their large portfolio. Paymerang has received numerous honors on both the local and national level, including recognition from Inc. 5000, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and the National Association for Business Resources, several years running. Madam President, I ask that we give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for the many jobs that you provide to our great Commonwealth. And in fact, I hear that your client list is extremely long and varied, from the nonprofit to the for-profit to the government. Thank you for being in that space and for staying right here in Virginia. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Stanley, the senator from Franklin County.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the Senate. You may remember my bill, Senate Bill 806, which created the Robotics Fund scholarship program that would help children who had been 60% or more of free or reduced lunch in our public schools start a robotics team and maintain it. That bill came to me because of some very dedicated students who have robotics teams, and they wanted to create that bill so other students throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, regardless of their zip code, could enjoy robotics as much as they do and learn as much as they do. They wrote the bill. They advocated for the bill. Many of you remember them coming to your committees. And they got the bill out of the Senate. They continued their march through the House of Delegates until they reached the dreaded Appropriations Committee. And unfortunately, I guess they don't like robotics over there. But these kids have taken it upon themselves not only just to argue this bill here before this body and our committees, but as soon as they found out that the bill had been defeated, they are here today and showed up in my office and said, who do we go and talk to and correct that problem? And so they are advocating for those. They checked the list of those that voted to lay it gently on the table, and they're going to their offices, and they're talking to them to understand better this process. And these kids just have the go get 'em, never give up, never give in attitude that I think makes me feel a whole lot better about the Virginia future, especially resting in their hands. Madam President, what we have are 3 teams here. Team Blue Cheese from Deep Run High School. We have Mech Tech Dragons from Maggie Walker's Governor School, and the Viking Bots from the Thomas Jefferson High School in Richmond, Virginia. These are really, really special young men and women, and I'm so proud and honored to work with them and their parents and their teachers to the point where they will not give up until that bill is passed. If they've got to come back next year, they're going to do it. Maybe they've got something up their sleeve and can get it done this year. So if you would do me the kindness of extending them the warm welcome of the Senate, I would certainly appreciate it. Thank you, Madam President.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are leaders indeed, and that you wanted to selflessly help other students in our Commonwealth avail themselves of robotics through advancing a piece of possible legislation. Well, as you saw, it was moved on to another part of our legislative process, but as you say, you're coming back next year. So diligence and persistence, as you already know, working in robotics will get you very far. Thank you for doing that. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Madam President, rise for introduction.
The senator may continue.
We're joined today by the family of my legislative chief of staff, Janet Muldoon. Here today is her husband, Mike Muldoon, who's here. The Muldoon's oldest daughter, Katie Muldoon Griffin, is also here with them, and so are some of their 8 grandchildren. And here today with them is Vera Jane Griffin. She's a first grader, and Michael Griffin, who's in preschool. And then there's Evelyn Nazarino, who is, she's in the 5th grade at Daniel Run Elementary and is a constituent of Senator Peterson. So I would ask that you please give them a warm welcome to the Senate of Virginia.
Muldoon family, there you are. Hello, young ladies and gents. Thank you for coming and for seeing your Senate in action. How awesome it is to come and observe us here on the local level. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Obenchain, the senator from Rockingham County.
Madam President, rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, we have a distinguished guest up in the gallery today who has been joining us, I think, every year for probably the past 10 years. She is a 5th grader. She's 10 years old, so she's been coming all her life. She is a 5th grader at Hill School in Middleburg, and I'll get to her name in just a minute. She has always had fun visiting the Capitol, and in particular, Mom, what'd you say here? Visiting people's offices. Visiting people's offices to get candy. And if we had a vote every year for congeniality and popularity among our guests, Olivia Vogel would undoubtedly win that award. So, Madam President, I would be grateful if you would extend the warm welcome of the Senate to Olivia Vogel.
Well, hello, Olivia. Good morning again to you. And I guess you lucked out on Valentine's Day with all that candy. Well, we're glad your mom is here, and we thank you for being a part of this. Senator, let us give them the warm welcome of her Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, we have in the gallery a very distinguished group of visitors whose job it is to keep my desk mate, the senator from the Star City of the South, in line. Dabney Graney from Charlotte and her 4 children. Patrick, who's 13, Charles, who's 11, Magnolia, who's 8, and Woodrow, 5 years old. My seatmate, Senator Edwards' daughter and 4 grandchildren. I'd ask you to give them the warm greetings of the Senate.
Please rise. There you are. Well, we hope that you'll stick around and hear the debate going back and forth so that you can see your senators in action and how the legislative process works. And for you to be doing this at such a young age, I think is wonderful. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair now recognizes Senator DeStaff, the senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Madam President, I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce my guest seated in the gallery today, Elza Mitchum and his son Alex. Elza serves as president of C&M Industries, B.W. Mitchum Trucking Company, J&B Storage Trailer Corporation. C&M Industries is a family-owned and operated business that has been providing transportation, treatment, recycling, and disposal services for non-hazardous petroleum-based products since 1971. B.W. Mitchum Trucking Company has been in operations for approximately 65 years, providing customized intermodal and domestic transportation services. The business has grown to over 200 trucks, multiple terminals. Elza serves on the board of ODU, Board of Visitors, and previously served on the board of directors for Town Financial Services. They're tremendous philanthropists in the community supporting EVMS and SPCA. I ask that you provide the Mitchums the warmest welcome of the Virginia Senate. Thank you.
Please rise. We thank you for all that you're doing in our Commonwealth. Indeed, you're providing jobs, 200 trucks. It's a lot of jobs. And the commerce that goes with it, of course, and your board service as well as your other community service. So it doesn't just stop with the business. You give of yourself as well, your time and your talents. Thank you for doing that. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. We are joined in the gallery today by members of the Virginia Young Democrats, which is the largest youth-led partisan organization in the Commonwealth, with constituencies in high schools, colleges, and young professional chapters around the state, from the coast to the valley, from Northern Virginia to Southwest. And they have been we have members from the Arlington, Chesterfield, Fairfax, James Madison University, Harrisonburg, Rockingham, and Metro Richmond area chapters, of which I am the founding president. And their notable alumni include senators, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say the name, but I'm going to say the name because they may not know where they're from. Senators Jeremy McPike, Delegate Alfonso Lopez, Fairfax County Chairman of the Board Jeff McKay, the Mayor of Alexandria Justin Wilson, and Councilman John Taylor Chapman. And I am a 3-term president of this organization and a YD for life. So I ask that you give them a warm Senate welcome.
Welcome to you, and thank you for coming and seeing the real thing. Well, we think it's the real thing. And that you are youth-led and the largest organization is an amazing feat. Keep it up. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Cosgrove, the senior senator from Chesapeake.
Thank you, Madam President, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam President, I rise for purposes of an introduction.
The senator may say on.
Thank you, Madam President. Today it gives me great honor to recognize Girl Scout representatives from various Virginia Girl Scout councils, including Girl Scouts of the Colonial Coast from my district that serves southeastern Virginia. For nearly 111 years, Girl Scouts have been the premier leadership development organization for girls and emphasizes public service and civic engagement. Girl Scouts works to champion the ambitions, cultivate the talents, and develop the skills of girls to be leaders in their own world and in ours. They combine time-tested, research-backed methods with modern programming that speaks to today's girls and is designed to cater to the strengths of girls' leadership development. Now, their programs focus on programming in science, technology, engineering, and math, which we all know as STEM, the outdoors, entrepreneurship, while helping girls develop invaluable life skills. With the help of dedicated volunteers, caring parents, and committed staff, girls are learning valuable lessons through Girl Scouting, lessons from the past and present that will last them a lifetime. In the gallery, we have representatives of the Girl Scout movement who are providing girls with a safe, inclusive, all-girl space where they can develop leadership skills and abilities. And those people visiting in our gallery today are Tracy Keller, Sunny Smith, Maureen Keller, Mara Bates, Cameron Waite, Georgie Raymond, Elgin Raymond, Bella White, and Makeda Bates. Madam President, I visited their headquarters, which is, like I said, in my district. It's one beautiful place, and these folks do such a fabulous job leading these girls on to become leaders of tomorrow. So I hope you will offer them the warm welcome of our Senate.
Good morning to you, or I should say afternoon. I just looked up the Girl Scout. There is a promise and a law that you adhere to, and I notice it says, "On my honor," and that's how it begins. Without honor, you have nothing. Honor, of course, is also part of integrity, one of the many virtues that's necessary. But on your honor, and you're saying that at your age, and it's a wonderful quality to have. Thank you for doing that. You're already showing us that you care about others. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Bell, the senator from Loudoun.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, it's my honor to welcome my constituents, the Quinn family, here today. They're visiting Richmond. They came down this weekend and been exploring different parts of Richmond and learning. They did the Capitol tour this morning and are really trying to experience our government really with a great view of it today. Matt and Autumn are joined with their children, Kiara, who's 12, and Mackenzie, 9. Matt and Autumn moved from Pennsylvania to Northern Virginia for more opportunities, and they found that here. Matt's the CEO of a data company, and he also volunteers supporting STEM programs in our area. Autumn is a very dedicated volunteer with Loudoun County Public Schools, and both of them are deeply invested in their daughter's future and also helping to make our community a better place. I ask that you give them the warm welcome of the Senate, please.
Good afternoon to you, and thank you for what you also do in the community. Not only are you the CEO, but you also give of yourself. Thank you for doing that, and thank you, family, for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Locke, the senator from Hampton.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. In the gallery, we have members of the Hampton NAACP Youth and ACT-SO Councils and Hampton University College chapter of the NAACP visiting with us today. The National Youth and College Council was formed in 1935 and serves as the premier institution for young people to develop the skills they need to meet various challenges that face African Americans and other youth of color. NAACP youth and college units across the country, engage in social justice activism, addressing issues at the local, state, and national level with primary focus on education, economic development, health, juvenile justice, and voter empowerment. The Afro-Academic Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics, better known as ACT-SO, was formed in 1978 and is a year-long program. National program designed to recruit, stimulate, and encourage high academic and cultural achievement among 9th through 12th grade high school students of color. Past national ACT-SO winners include Grammy and Oscar Award recipients Alicia Keys and Jennifer Hudson, Jada Pinkett, Anthony Anderson, John Singleton, and Mae Jemison, the first Black woman that traveled into space. Please join me in welcoming the Hampton NAACP Youth and ACT-SO Councils and Hampton University College chapter of the NAACP to the Virginia Senate.
Good morning. I keep saying good morning and it's afternoon. I don't know why I keep doing that. Thank you for coming. Isn't it wonderful to see all of this and to know that one day you too could be here, and that also you were formed in 1935, the youth part of the NAACP, and so you've got big shoes to fill, but I know you can do it. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Mason, the senator from Williamsburg.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, today with us we have the winners of my 9th annual district-wide art contest. We've done it every year except for the one we were in Science Museum. In the height of COVID, we couldn't pull it off, but it is amazing the talent that these young students have, Madam Chair. And because today is President's Day, they had 20, 30 folks with them, parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, and so, but we've had to dial it back a little since there's so many people in the gallery. But today we have our Gracie Pruitt, our 3rd grade winner from Dutro Elementary with her father, Stephen, and teacher, Alexis Mulvihill. Kiara Leone, 5th grader from Riverside Elementary with her mother, Sarah, and teacher, Jill Hollowell. Paige Salehi, a 7th grader from James Blair Middle School with her mother, Kristen, and teacher, Elizabeth Williams. And finally, Jabrea Copeland, 12th grader at Woodside High School with her, it says with her father, Jamal, but I believe her sister boxed him out and ended up there with him. And their teacher, Heidi Bogan. Again, because it's a holiday, all teachers that are helping and participate are here today, Madam President. So I hope that you'll give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Good afternoon to you. And thank you, teachers, for coming on your day off. How wonderful that you've given of yourself in that manner. And students, as you know, talent is one thing, but it must be nurtured. Otherwise, it will become of less value to you. So do not take care of that part of yourselves. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, seated in the gallery today is Eugene Swenson. He is he's a president, but he's also the co-founder of Big Homies. And let me tell you what Big Homies mean. Now, because when a lot of people hear Big Homies, they say, what is that? Well, Big Homies is heroes of minorities in every society. And they held their 2nd annual sneaker ball banquet this past weekend and brought out youth from the 7 cities in the 757. What the Big Homies does is, Madam President, its mission is to end youth gun violence through community events, after-school programs, youth employment programs, and other groups. And President and co-founder of the group, Eugene Swenson, said that he was wanting to bring the kids to the General Assembly after having that big banquet on Saturday. So I would just like for you to give them a very warm welcome of the Senate.
Welcome to you. And thank you for starting this program. And what an acronym. And young people, stay involved. Stay involved in your community, in an organization such like this, because you are our future. And you are going to dictate the terms under which we will live one day and under which your peers will live. So you must thrive, and educationally, you must do well. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Vogel, the senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Madam President. We must have a record number of introductions this morning, and I, too, rise for the purpose of 3 introductions.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I am delighted to direct your attention in the gallery to 2 guests who are here this morning. Ryan Lynch and his mother, Monique Lynch. Today is Monique's birthday. It's very special that she is here. She is a math professor, and she has taken the day to be here with Ryan, who is visiting as part of a project that is soon going to yield an Eagle Scout. Right now, he's a Star Scout, and he's working his way to Eagle Scout, and part of what he's doing is visiting today and seeing what we do, which right now he thinks is only introductions, clearly. He is also distinguished because he is the lead in the 8th grade play. He's incredibly talented musically, as well as outstanding young actor. And he's the lead in Bye Bye Birdie in our 8th grade Hill School play in Middleburg, Virginia. So I would ask that the body please give them the very warm welcome of the Senate.
Good morning again to the both of you. And for you to aspire to be an Eagle Scout, just to even aspire is an amazing thing. And we know that you will get there. One of the highest honors that you can achieve as a scout. Thank you for, well, it's a selfless act that you have to do. And thank you for wanting to do that selfless act. Senators, let us give him the warm welcome, as well as our math teacher, the welcome of their Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. The second introduction I can make, I know you're not supposed to introduce family, and I can introduce this person because while she's family, she's not a blood relative. And I know she's glad of that. She'd be so embarrassed if she was related by blood. Her name is Josie Coates. She is so incredibly important and close to our family. We love her dearly. She's originally from Frederick County, Virginia, and she now lives in Upperville. She is the person who runs everything when I am in Richmond, takes care of the family. And she is a super close friend and is generous to take her day and come down and spend it in the Capitol just to see everybody, because it's going to be my last regular week of the Senate session. And so I would ask that you all, and by the way, I will say she's a great cat lover, and Madam Clerk was kind enough to go and get the cat from her office that the 8th graders recall seeing when they were here that meowed so much, and she was kind enough to go get it so they could all be entertained by her meowing cat. And so, yeah, I think the clerk may have it. Anyway, please extend to Josie Coates the very warm welcome of the Senate while the clerk retrieves the magic cat for the cat lovers in the gallery. Thank you, Madam President.
Well, I think we all, maybe some of us, I do anyway, love El Gato. And so thank you so very much for all that you do, because we couldn't do this without folks back home keeping the home fires burning. Senators, let us give her the warm welcome of her Senate.
And Madam President, last
Senator has the floor.
Certainly not least, this is a huge crowd, and it's a really big deal to have them in the gallery, and they almost didn't make it this morning because the gallery was so full. This year is the 76th year of the Virginia YMCA Model General Assembly. And in April, the 16th through the 18th, they will be here taking on the roles of lobbyists, delegates, senators, members of the media. And a number of them are here today, and it is my honor to direct your attention to their 2 staff leaders, Sharon Davis and Spencer Snyder, who are here with them. In the gallery, we have Henka Younger, who is the youth governor We have Sarah Jacobs, who's Lieutenant Governor. We have Muhammad Al-Safar, who is the Attorney General. Elizabeth Price, who is the House Speaker. Sophie Davis, who's the Senate President Pro Tem. Hannah Bunting, who is the House Speaker Pro Tem. They're all in the gallery, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that a number of great people who are in this body were once members of the Model General Assembly YMCA program, and you have them to thank or to blame. House Speaker Todd Gilbert went through the program with me when we were in high school together. Delegate Rob Bloxham, Senator Monty Mason was in Model General Assembly. Senator Linwood Lewis was in Model General Assembly. And Governor Ralph Northam was in Model General Assembly. So I would ask you to please extend to them the very warm welcome of the Senate. And I think it's with some optimism and excitement that we can say we might expect one or more of these young men and women to be here one day. So thank you, Madam President.
Good afternoon to you again. It is interesting that you have heard so many of those who have come before you moved on to become governors and attorney general and delegates and senators, etc. So indeed, these are not playtime roles that you hold. They could be actual roles one day. And of course, this program you're in is designed to introduce you to the legislative process. So how wonderful that you're doing this. I know you're taking it seriously. Especially, you know, I'm going to be a little bit partisan when it comes to our lieutenant governor. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator McPike, Senator from Prince William.
Thank you, Madam President. Rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Today we have in the gallery members of the Virginia Black Business Directory. The Virginia Black Business Directory was founded in 2020 by Ernisha and Tracy Hall as a nonprofit with the focus on increasing the overall support of black-owned businesses throughout D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. The goal of the organization is to ensure that members thrive and achieve generational wealth by creating entrepreneurship opportunities. According to the State of Working America, there are currently 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America. However, 8 in 10 fail within the first 18 months due to a lack of resources and funding. And the Virginia Black Business Directory recognizes that recycling black dollars into black-owned businesses generates wealth within the community that has historically and unfairly continued to be marginalized due to lack of business funding and access to capital, due to lack of business to remain open during economically challenging and successful times. And to date, the Virginia Black Business Directory has continued to increase business membership through various opportunities, and in 2020, they were interviewed by ABC News for a special feature highlighting Buying Black and the success of the Fredericksburg Regional Black Restaurant Week, the Fredericksburg Food Truck Festival, and the Virginia Black Business Expo. And that same year, the House of Delegates presented the Virginia Black Business Directory with a House Resolution 604 for the Fredericksburg Regional Black Restaurant Week to express admiration for the contribution and success of the black-owned restaurants in the Fredericksburg area. And as of April 2022, they have more than 1,200 members, Madam President, representing 1,421 organizations and businesses listed in that directory. And please provide them with the warm welcome of the Senate.
Good afternoon to you. And what an awesome task you have ahead of you to help businesses so that they don't fold within 18 months. And I know that you're able to help them find the many resources so that their businesses will continue, such as the small business development centers in so many of our community colleges, as well as the small business development centers within the administration, and so many others, the chambers of commerce, etc. We start businesses, and one thing we ask ourselves is what now, and who can help, and where are the resources. So thank you for doing that. As a former business owner myself, I needed that help, and thank you for being there. Senators, let's give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Dunavant, the senator from Enrico.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and members of the Senate. Today, we have in the gallery with us a very special little girl and her family. You may know her family. Jane Hornbeck is one of our administrative aides over at Pocahontas, but she was also a wonderful nurse I worked with at Labor and Delivery before she got her retirement gig. She's here today with her son, Liz, who babysat my kids, and son-in-law, Rick, and the special granddaughter, Ellie. Ellie's 9 years old and in the 4th grade at Stewart School, and last August, she developed really strange symptoms, fatigue, weakness, eventually paralysis, really serious symptoms. She was admitted to the ICU. They thought it was mono. She was transferred from Chippenham to VCU and eventually Johns Hopkins. And after 5 different diagnoses, really, of course, if you don't have the right diagnoses, you can't solve the problem. It was determined that she had MOGAD. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rare Disease Month, and MOGAD is one of those rare diseases. It's myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein antibody-associated disease. It's basically an autoimmune that attacks the insulation you have wrapped around your nerves. So she is now doing incredibly well. She is a living miracle of modern medicine and the appropriate diagnoses. She's now able to be an excellent student at her school. She's playing basketball with her team. She adores the ladies at the University of Richmond Spiders who have adopted her. But it has taken a team of family, friends, community, healthcare providers to get Ellie where she is today. But most important, it was her strength and never-ending positive attitude that helped her through. It's my privilege to introduce Ellie Houston and her parents, Rick and Liz, and her grandmother, Jane Hornbeck.
Hello, family, and young lady that you have endured such a tremendous sickness at such a young age. And here you are, still smiling, still doing well in school. Yes. God bless you, and family, that the strength that it takes also to endure. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator McDougall, the senator from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for the purpose of introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, we have in the gallery today the family member of my seatmate, the senator from Franklin County. Madam President, we have been asking why she's waited 40 days to come and supervise the gentleman, but we're very thankful that she's here. She brought with us their daughter, Chandler. Chandler is a 5th grader at Chandler, their son, is a 5th grader at Glade Hill Elementary and was the recent runner-up in the middle school spelling bee. He is advancing on to the regional spelling bee next month. He is an avid sportsman, loves playing lots of different things, including basketball. And Madam President, he has been very good in the gallery today, unlike his father, and he is auditioning for a page position in 2 years. He's done a very good job. Madam President, Laura is also in the gallery. She runs Vista Installations, a very successful company. As a result, the senator is asked on repeated occasions to be a stay-at-home dad. She is very wise and has repeatedly said no. Madam President, if you could offer them the warm welcome of the Senate and thank them for being here, albeit late, to supervise the senator.
Well, welcome, Stanley family. Welcome, young man, and very good on you in your studies and in your spelling especially. And Madam Stanley, you know that he's a cut-up, but it makes the time easier to go by sometimes. So we're thankful for him. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Hearing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Monday, February 20th, 2023. Page 6. Unfinished business House. House Bill 1866. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola, the senator from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I insist on the Senate amendment, and I request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendment and request a committee of conference on the bill? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 3.
Ayes 34, noes 3. The Senate insists on its amendment.
House Bill 2428. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
Chair again recognizes Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute to HB 2428 and request a committee of conference on the bill? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate insists on its amendment.
House Bill 2487. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
Chair again recognizes Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference on the bill? All those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. The Senate insists.
House Bill 1486. The House has acceded to the request for a committee of conference. Conferees on the part of the Senate as named by the co-chairs of Finance and Appropriation, Senators Howell and Barker, Senators Ruff, Marsden, and Hanger. We are awaiting House action on the remaining bills. Unfinished bills, Senate business, Senate. Senate Bill 789 is passed the House with amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator Spruill, the senator from Northern Chesapeake.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Senate Bill S 789 with a recommendation to be rejected. I move the House amendment. Speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. Madam Chair and members, as earlier I spoke about how it has been over 30-some years since the jurors have had a raise of $30. And the House recommended $50, we recommend $100. So I'm hoping that we would reject this. Thank you so much.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the House amendments be agreed to? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? With the recommendation that it be rejected. The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House amendment is rejected.
Senate Bill 821 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Sorrevell, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. With the recommendation that we reject the House substitute, I move that we concur with the substitute. Speak to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is the bill that has to do with sex offender notifications for to our public school systems. And the House has a sort of a different way of going at this, but it's also, I think, very reconcilable. But we just need some more time for myself and the House patron to come up with a common solution. So in the meantime, we need to put this in conference. I would ask that you reject the House substitute so we can do that.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate agree to the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? With the recommendation that it be rejected. Those in... The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 841 is passed the House with a substitute.
Chair again recognizes Senator Sorovel.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, with the recommendation we reject the House substitute, I move that we concur with it. And speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill was a recommendation of the Virginia Alcohol Safety Action Program Commission, which I serve on with Senator Stewart and a few other folks. And the House made some amendments which just don't make a lot of sense. And I need to get them in conference so I can beat them around a little bit. So I'd hope you would reject this so we can clean it up in conference, and I think you'll see something come out at the end.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the House substitute be agreed to? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 896 is passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator McDougall, the senator from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the House substitute be agreed to in speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, the House took out the language that we had originally in the bill that dealt with anything of value, so it actually limits the impact of the bill. And so with that, but it is still good language. So with that, Madam President, I'd renew the motion that it be accepted.
The question is, shall the House substitute be concurred with? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 903 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Hanger, the senator from Augusta.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the Senate. Senate Bill 903, it was in the House, was conformed to a House bill.
The purpose?
To speak to the bill, please.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Senate Bill 903 in the House was conformed to a House bill that was similar but not precise in what it was attempting to do with industrial hemp and the retail sale and registration for the sale of these products. So I would ask that you reject it, but move that the House substitute be rejected.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 956. The House has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Ruff, the senator from Mecklenburg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendment.
The senator has the floor.
Speaking to that, the amendment clarifies that the legislation will not step on any existing authorities.
The question is, shall the Senate agree with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The House amendment is accepted.
Senate Bill 973 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Peake, the senator from Lynchburg.
Thank you, Madam President. Could this bill go by temporarily till I can confirm what they changed?
Without objection, Senate Bill 973 goes by temporarily.
Senate Bill 997 has passed the House with a substitute with amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator Mason, the senator from Williamsburg.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the substitute with amendments from the House. And speaking that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, this is the oyster replenishment grant. Started out as a tax credit. We didn't like that over there. We sent it as a grant. We just put a cap on it and said you can't use the money for education. It's just for the purposes that we discussed originally. And then also said that any cost to administer it had to be held at 8%. So just cleaned up where the money would be used and how. And so with that, Madam President, I move that we accept the substitute with the amendments.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute with amendments? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. This House substitute with amendment is accepted.
Senate Bill 1019 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Edwards, the senator from Roanoke City.
Madam President, I move that the Senate agree to the House amendments. These are
the senator has the floor.
These are just technical amendments, and so I agree. I move that we accept the House substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The House substitute is accepted.
Senate Bill 1073 has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Hackworth, the senator from Tazewell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the House amendments be agreed to. Speaking of that motion.
The senator has the floor.
This is a technical amendment, and it strikes the word of and inserts the word at after line 16. That I move that we accept the House amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator Donovan, the senator from Enrico. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1099 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Normand, the senator from James City County.
Thank you, Madam President. If you would pass that by temporarily.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1099 passes by temporarily.
Senate Bill 1107 has passed the House with substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Cosgrove, the senior senator from Chesapeake.
Thank you, Madam President. Could this bill go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 1107 goes by for the day.
Senate Bill 1145 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator McPike, the senator from Prince William.
Thank you, Madam President. Move we concur with the House substitute and speaking to the motion.
The senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. It makes a very simple change to the penalty section with violating the excavation portion of this act. It basically adds intentionally to the phrase knowingly and intentionally, and that is the change, and move its concurrence.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1188 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Reeves, the senator from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Madam President. With the recommendation to be rejected, I now would concur with the House substitute in speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, the House in their infinite wisdom and the Courts Committee decided to add some language I don't think would be amenable to this body, and I'd like to take it to conference. Ask the bill be rejected.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The Senate does not concur.
Senate Bill 1207 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator McDougall, the senator from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the House substitute be agreed to, but speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, for the members of the body, the House returned the bill closer to the way it was introduced, but not the way it left the Senate. Specifically, Madam President, the House returned a mandatory minimum provision from 2 years to 5 years. So I draw that to the members' attention because that amendment was made in the Finance Committee to take it back from the 5 years as introduced to the 2 years where the law is today. The House conformed it to a version that came through their body and returned it to the 5 years. So even though this bill is as I introduced it, in that provision, I know that the membership expressed some concerns about that increase.
Chair recognizes Senator Peterson, the senator from Fairfax City.
Thank you, Madam President. Speak to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
I want to thank my colleague for his candor. I hope we can push this into conference. I think that's a fairly significant change, and I know, at least on this side of the aisle, we're taking a pretty hard look at mandatory minimums, so hopefully we can push this into conference. Thanks.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 16, noes 24.
Ayes 16, noes 24. The Senate does not concur.
Senate Bill 1211 has passed the House with substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, I move that we reject the House substitute. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam President. With the recommendation that we reject, I move that we accept the House substitute.
Would you like to speak to that motion, Senator?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I will. Madam President, I will. This is the bill that was the merger between Eastern Virginia Medical School and Old Dominion University, and direct the institutions to provide deliverables relating to such a merger for presentation to the governor and the General Assembly.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the House substitute be accepted? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The Senate rejects the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1215 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair again recognizes Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, Madam President, I move that the Senate accept the House substitute.
And speaking to the motion?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. What this bill does is relating to the compensation of public school teachers and other standards of quality funded positions. That this is the compensation rate.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate accepts.
Senate Bill 1289 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, with the recommendation that it be rejected, I move passage of the House substitute. Speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
This bill had as its purpose the addressing the shortage of school bus drivers. We've attempted throughout the process on both sides to reduce the fiscal impact of the bill. The House has put delayed enactment clause on the bill that certainly affects our ability to affect the current shortage, and I think we probably need to talk about this in conference. So
the question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 1299 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair again recognizes Senator Deeds.
Madam President, with a recommendation that it be rejected, I move passage of the House substitute. And I'd like to speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. This bill had as its purpose the unclogging of our emergency rooms sometimes with people who are there for a mental health evaluation. People who no longer meet the TDO requirement. We were trying to get them out earlier. There's been some disagreement about exactly who's going to perform the last evaluation. And this is also a bill I think we need to talk about in conference. So again, I'd ask you to reject the substitute.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 1310 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I move that the Senate accept or adopt the House substitute, and I'd like to speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. This bill has the purpose of protecting certain personal information about judicial officers from disclosure. The House has simply made some technical amendments to this bill. So again, I'd ask you to accept the substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate accepts the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1329 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the House substitute. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a bill that will put a working group together at the Board of Education to create a student data portal where students and parents can access their students' assessment data in a more transparent and understandable way, and then puts the framework together for that that database. But that portion of the bill has a reenactment clause, and this substitute makes the House and Senate versions identical, and I ask that we adopt it.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The House concurs, the Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1398 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Surville, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we concur in the House substitute and speak of that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill is the one that has to do with enhancing a bunch of reporting when it comes to DUI and capturing more data so we can get to the bottom of what's going on. And the House just had some technical amendments to the enactment clauses, I think, and I didn't view the changes as being material, and I would move that we, again, concur with their substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1411 has passed the House with the substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Normand, the senator from James City County.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would respectfully ask that we agree with the substitute that the House put on Senate Bill 1411. This bill deals with allowing former law enforcement officers who have retired to return to work, especially focusing on potential SROs and police departments that are challenged to bring in employees. It does straighten out some confusion that related to their entitlement to continue to receive VRS.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1449 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Obenshain, the senator from Rockingham.
Madam President, I move that we concur with the House substitute. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
This bill dealt with extended judge absences. The House substitute simply added some language to facilitate its implementation at the suggestion of the Supreme Court. So it doesn't affect the purpose or implementation of the bill otherwise.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1468 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Hackworth, the senator from Tazewell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate accept the House substitute, and speaking of that motion.
The senator may continue.
This changes the sunset date from 2024 to 2026, which is the way it should have been when it came out of here, and that was an error on our part. They caught it. So I'd ask that we accept that.
The question is, Shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1479 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, I move that the Senate reject the House amendments and speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
Okay, Madam President, the House amendment delayed the enactment paired with the current sunset date of July 1st, 2025, which provides less than 2 years to utilize this policy to return experienced teachers back to the classroom to help address the critical teaching shortage. So this needs to be discussed further, and I think we can take care of that in the conference. So with that, again, I move that with the recommendation that we reject the House amendment, I move that we concur with the House substitute.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 1521 is passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Barker, the senator from Southern Fairfax County.
Madam President, with a motion, with a request that it be rejected, I move that we concur with the House substitute.
Would you like to speak to that motion, sir?
Yes, this deals with the revenues and the deposits for the rainy day fund and the reserve fund.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate accept the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The Senate does not concur with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1448. The House insists on its substitute and requests a committee of conference.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference on Senate Bill 1448? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate accedes to the request for a committee of conference.
Conferees on the part of the Senate for Senate Bill 1448, as named by the Chair of Education and Health, Senator Lucas, are Senators Lucas, Locke, and Hashmi. We are awaiting House action on the remaining bills.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Having voted on the prevailing side where we accepted the substitute to Senate Bill 896 on page 10, I move that we reconsider that vote.
The question is, shall the vote by which the Senate concurred on Senate Bill 896 passed be reconsidered? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The vote is reconsidered. Senator McDougall.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, renew the motion that the House substitute amendments be agreed to, and speaking to that briefly.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, as the bill came through the Senate, it focused in on adding in petty larceny, and it included also other items of value. The House took that language out, so this is actually more restrictive than it left the Senate. So now it does not include other items of value. It's only the items that were actually stolen.
The question is,
Madam President.
Chair recognizes Senator Sorovell, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Speaking to the substitute.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want everybody to remember this is final passage on this because this is the last time you're going to see it. And number one. Number two, we're talking about adding petty larceny to racketeering. So, can of tuna fish, part of a broader operation with a high dollar value, you're in racketeering territory. Okay? And we're also passing a separate, we have another bill that's out there, which has been floating around in both chambers, to allow conspiracy to commit petty larceny to be charged at a certain threshold. We're arguing about whether it ought to be 1,000 or 5 or 10. But that's a separate crime from this, right? So this retail theft thing is out there, but just this is final passage. I want to make sure everybody remembers what we're voting for right now because you're not going to see this one again.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Returning to page 11, Senate Bill 973 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Peake, the senator from Lynchburg.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the substitute.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. So this bill applies to sexually violent predators. My original bill created a Class 6 felony for removing, tampering with the monitoring device. My original bill also included language for a second expert should the Commonwealth desire one. That portion was objected to in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and the expert language was removed. The House version, this substitute reinserts the expert witness provision that some people on the Senate committee objected to. I prefer the House version, which is my original version. Senator Sorovell has a differing opinion as he removed the expert language. I would then defer to the senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Chair again recognizes Senator Sorovell.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to was there a motion? Did he make a motion?
Madam President, so I would move that we accept the House substitute. Or, yes.
The senator may continue.
Speaking to the motion, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I would encourage us to reject the House substitute and stick to the position that we voted for previously. What this has to do with is individuals who are committed to the sexually violent predators program after they're convicted. So once they've served their sentence, they get sent to this other facility, and they're evaluated by a specific expert before they're sent. And the Attorney General's office would like to be able to choose a different expert if they don't like the opinion of the expert, of their expert, basically, which to me is of concern. I checked with some practitioners who advised me the existing system works fine, and you shouldn't be able to expert shop on something like this. And that's why we struck that language from the bill when it came through the first time. So I would encourage us to reject the House substitute. And if the House wants to do this in conference and keep talking about it, we talk about it in that context.
Chair recognizes Senator Morrissey, the junior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the measure.
The senator has the floor.
I would tell the senator from Chesapeake and others that aren't quite sure what we're talking about for the Behavioral Rehabilitation Center that this is what we're talking about.
an individual is convicted of a violent offense, say rape, and is given 30 years. That person goes to prison for 30 years or maxes out at 27 and a half. And 6 months before the person is to be released, they then have an evaluation to determine whether or not that person should still stay in prison, but it's a different prison by a different name, Center for Behavioral Rehabilitation, where they go after a jury trial for an indefinite amount of time. Now, when they first go to prison for this sexual violation, do they get them that training in year 1, 2, 5, 10? No. They wait until after the person is maxed out that they send them to another prison by another name for another period of time. I hope that the body votes no.
The question is, shall the Senate concur on the House substitute for Senate Bill 973? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 18, noes 22.
Ayes 18, noes 22. The Senate does not concur.
On page 13, Senate Bill 1099 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Norman, the senator from James City County.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the bill and the substitute from the House.
The senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the recommendation that we reject the House substitute, I would move it accepted. And speaking to the motion,
the senator may continue.
This bill deals with SROs within the schools, and that there have for many years been on the Code of Virginia a grant program that is funded through either gifts, appropriations, or other resources that can be used for SROs. Originally, when it left the Senate, for some reason, they had not included elementary schools, which we added to it. The House struck both high school, middle school, and elementary schools, thereby generically allowing it to be applicable to all schools, and I don't find that offensive. Unfortunately, as the bill was working its way through subcommittee, I made certain representations that I would include restrictions on how the grant money could be used, and that has been removed as well, and it has a broad application on it, so I respectfully request we reject the House substitute.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The Senate does not concur with the House substitute.
Returning to page 18. Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Chair calls on Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move that all House bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar, it's pages 18 through 33, House Bill 1604 through 2498, be advanced to their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto. Any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the bill. Read the number of the bill. Excuse me.
The question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 18 through 33, House Bills 1604 through House Bills 2498, be placed upon their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill to be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bills. Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will now read the number of the bills.
House Bill 1604,
Madam
reported.
President.
Chair recognizes the senior senator from Richmond, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill could go by one more day so we can celebrate together.
Without objection, House Bill 1604 is out of the block and by for the day.
House Bill 1426, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1450, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1465.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes the junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. Page 19, can House Bill 1450 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, House Bill 1450 is out of the block.
House Bill 1465, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1624, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1618, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1754, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1762, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1765, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1833, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1857, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1870, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1884, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1888, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with the substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
I move the committee substitute.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? Those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1900, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with an amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1928, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1929, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1945, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1946, reported for the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1951, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1955, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2021, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes the junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Madam President. Can House Bill 2021 on page 25 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, House Bill 2021 is out of the block.
House Bill 2033, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2077, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2113, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2122, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2137, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2139, reported for the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2158, reported for the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2172, reported for the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2173, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2180, reported from the Commission on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2241, 2211, reported for the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2222, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2223, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2235, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the General Laws and Technology Committee substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2312, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2313, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2342, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2359, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2364, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2370, reported from the Committee on Judiciary with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Edwards, the senator from Roanoke City.
Madam President, I move that the Committee on the Judiciary substitute be adopted.
The question is, shall the substitute be adopted? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is adopted.
House Bill 2374, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2494, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the committee substitute.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2498, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The question is, shall the House bills in the block pass? That is, all bills except for House Bill 1604, page 18, House Bill 1450, page 19, and House Bill 2021 on page 25. All those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
On page 19, House Bill 1450.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Okay, Madam President, what the bill does, it replaces various instances of the term handicap or handicapped and similar variations throughout the Code of Virginia with alternative terms as appropriate in the statute context, such as disability and impairment. The bill contains technical amendments. The bill is a recommendation of the Virginia Disability Commission. And with that, again, I move that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The bill passes.
Turning to page 25, House Bill 2021.
Chair again recognizes Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill pass. Speaking to that bill.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, what the bill does, it requires each school board to ensure that any back-to-school night event in the local school division in which the parent or enrolled students are invited, any such parent in attendance receives permanent notification of an access in paper or electronic form or both to inform or provide information and eligibility for fees or reduced price meals for students and a fillable fee or reduced price meal application that may be completed and submitted on site. With that, I again move that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bill passes.
Page 33, regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 1777, a bill relating to Phase 1 Utilities Annual Rate True-Up Reviews, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Chair recognizes Senator Hanger, the senator from Augusta. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, I think, Madam
The
President.
senator from Mecklenburg.
May that bill go by for the day, please.
Without objection, House Bill 1777 goes by for the day.
House Bill 1924, a bill relating to minimum wage, employees with disabilities, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. We have a floor substitute, and we have 3 floor amendments.
Now, Chair recognizes Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I would ask permission to withdraw my amendment that I had offered.
Without objection, sir, your floor substitute is withdrawn.
Thank you.
Chair now recognizes Senator Peterson. Senator Newman. The Newman floor amendments. Chair recognizes Senator Newman, senator from Bedford.
Madam President, I'm going to ask that the 2 amendments be separated if they are not already.
No, sir, they're not.
Madam President, then what I'd like to do is take up the amendments which are the longer amendments, which are LIS's number ending in 48A.
You're taking those up first? You're
Yes,
waiving
and
the
that
reading?
waive the reading of those 2 amendments.
That is, the question is, shall the Newman amendments number 2 and number 3 be waived? The reading of it. Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The reading of the floor amendments 2 and 3 are waived. Senator Newman.
Madam President, speaking to those amendments.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, I've spoke to the patron of the bill a number of times, and I am grateful for those conversations, and I believe he has a correct heart on this bill. Madam President, we've talked about the First Amendment, which is basically amendments that allow us to get information about where we are today in 2021, 2022, and then where we are going forward. So with that, Madam President, I hope that we would adopt those 2 amendments. I don't think the author of the bill has any difficulties with those 2. He will not like my next amendments.
The question is, Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
With the offer of the amendments, yield for a question.
Will Senator Newman yield for a question?
I yield.
The senator yields. Senator Eben has the floor.
In your conversation, I would ask him if in his conversations with the patron of the bill, if he did not get the figure of 325 people who are currently affected by this exemption from DARS, that we already have that statistic.
Senator Newman has the floor.
Madam President, the amendment goes much further than that and tries to recognize what happens to these individuals, one, identifying where the individuals are, and beyond that, kind of what happens to them as the bill becomes effective, if it does.
I thank the gentleman.
The question is, shall the Newman amendments number 2 and 3 be accepted? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The the floor amendments are accepted. Senator Newman.
Madam President, I move to waive the reading of the last amendment.
The question is, Chair recognizes Senator Marsden. The question is, shall the reading of the Newman Amendment number 1 be waived? Those in favor of waiving the reading will say aye. Those opposed, no. The reading number 1 is waived. Senator Newman, for what purpose does the senator from Fairfax County?
Madam President.
Chair recognizes again Senator Newman.
Madam President, I think he wants to reject it eventually, but if I could explain the amendment.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, make no mistake about it, this is a reenactment clause, and I have very strong feelings about this bill, and I'm going to give you some reasons why I would like to place this reenactment clause on it. First, we do have now information that will allow us to get more information. This would require us to come back in the 2024 session and reenact the bill. Madam President, to speak to that, it's difficult to speak to a reenactment clause without at least bringing in the bill in the discussion. Madam President, as I said, the patron opposes this amendment, but we did discuss it at great length. Madam President, the bill itself requires those that are profoundly disabled to be paid minimum wage in a scale that you can look at on lines 118 through lines 120, and then paid the full minimum wage after 2026. Madam President, this Senate considered this very action 2 years ago and soundly rejected it, and I think there was for good reason. Madam President, for those of you that were there in that committee room or remember, there's some good reasons why we rejected it. If you look at the types of individuals that currently are exempt from minimum wage, I would tell you I do not believe one group on this list deserves it more than the group we are taking off the list. And let me give you some examples. Those that are involved in domestic service, those that are involved in an educational, charitable, nonprofit organization that provides the service on a volunteer basis. That doesn't mean that they are paid volunteer, that they are actually provided a service. Anyone who's a traveling salesman, outside salesman, just anyone that is on a commission, and it goes on to list others in that area. If you're admitted to a state hospital, Madam President, which includes the Department of Behavioral Health and Development Services, you're exempt. Doesn't that sound like a lot of the people that actually we're going to be paid the minimum wage today? Madam President, anyone who's employed in a summer camp for boys and girls is exempt. If you are a student participating in a bona fide education program, you get the exemption. Any person who is less than 18 years of age who is currently enrolled in a full-time basis in a secondary school or an institution of higher education is exempt. But we cannot allow, as a result of this bill, people who are severely disabled to continue to have their jobs. Madam President, it goes a little further. It goes into babysitters and goes into temporary foreign workers are exempt. But we have to remove this exemption for severely disabled individuals. Madam President, I don't get on the floor that much, but occasionally I care a great deal about a bill. This one, as some of you in the committee remember, I have someone that is very close to me. It's my namesake that is now in his 30s. Has been a part of these programs for many, many years, for decades. If you talk to that young man, all he wants to talk to you about is his job. That's it. He loves to talk about his job, and he has that job because of the exception that's in this bill. I've listened and heard the compassionate talk from the delegate from Arlington. And he talks about the fact that there is one group in Arlington that actually has been able to bring their individuals up to the minimum wage. And I'm delighted at that. But the de facto minimum wage up there is almost $25. So taking them up to the minimum wage is much less. I'm not saying the actual minimum wage, but what people are actually getting in McDonald's. That's not what's going to happen in areas where you're bringing them so close to the minimum wage. When you think about this young man, he doesn't do the work that you and I do. He doesn't do it as quickly as you and I do, but he does have a job. The other portion of that is his sister is also in the program and has a job. She struggles with a number of other things, hearing and some additional items that he doesn't have, but she has the job. And just think about this. Those of you on Senate Finance know that for these same individuals, we're trying our best to figure out ways to get someone to go in and help the parents, just give them some relief for a few hours to allow them to give the care the rest of the day. We spend an enormous amount of money making sure we go in and help these individuals by giving the parents a break. And parents sometimes are 30-year-old children, 40-year-old children. And then on the other side, we try to help these individuals by giving them some assistance. Madam President, my concern here is this bill actually does the exact opposite. It says that you're going to take away that support time that the parent has, where this individual is away, having great self-esteem, saying that they are working, and they're working. If you've ever been to a sheltered industry, and I was on the board when I was on city council 30 years ago, you know the impact that this program has. It's a program that helps parents. It's a program that helps the individuals. And I'm just sad to say that this bill would take it away. Madam President, there's just one more of my friends that is in part of this program, actually in a sheltered industry, and he is now retired. And he's in his 60s. If you go talk to him today, he will talk about his work, and he'll talk about how proud he is that he retired. Now, his mother has now passed away, and so there's other activity needed to assist him. But this is the mechanism that he got the opportunity to have the pride of working. Mr. President, this bill, I'm positive we'll put this bill in conference. Make no mistake about it. I think it'll be rejected by the author of the bill. But I think that's where this bill ought to go. We ought to talk a lot more about this bill before we can do it. You may hear at some point that there's between $13 and $14 million to help offset some of these costs. The problem is that once that money is used, which is about $20,000 a year for 2 years, then there's nothing for these individuals. And if you shut down the sheltered industries and the other programs, they are shut down for good. Madam President, I know you've heard me speak on a couple things that I cared about, and I've mentioned a couple of times that I think God told us to take care of people who cannot take care of themselves. And that's the reason why I've been on this floor with many of you talking about training centers. I still don't like what we did with training centers, to be honest with you. Took away an option that was available to parents. And for the same reason, I don't care much for this bill. I look forward to going into conference if we get that opportunity. But that's the reason why the reenactment clause is here. Thank you, Madam President.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you. Speaking to the amendment.
The senator has the floor.
I very much appreciate the gentleman from Bedford's concern, and I think it's shared by the sponsor. But I think it's important that we also keep in mind that we have about $14 million in federal grants to compensate the 325 people who would be affected over the transition, and for assistance to the programs they participate in. Many of these programs have transitioned away from a sub-minimum wage already, and the use of the federal funds would assist in that transition. I ask that we reject the amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Marsden, the senator from Fairfax County, Western Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I think it's a situation here. We do have federal support for the upcoming years for this bill. It is trending, as the gentleman from Alexandria said, towards people doing away with the sub-minimum wage. I think it's a problem and a bridge we need to cross when we get there. Right now, we can take advantage of this federal funding, and it'll give us time, just like the reenactment clause would, to come up with solutions for these folks to make sure that they are paid adequately, that they're able to make enough money to live independently, which is a big issue for some of these folks. And we're not talking about a huge number of individuals here. I think it was 325. So let's cross that bridge when we get there. Let's take advantage of the federal money. Let's get some money into these folks' pockets. It can also help parents with affording care for their youngsters to get the relief that they need from time to time. And I think it's just a good idea, and we can worry about this when the federal funding expires. Thank you, Madam President.
Chair recognizes Senator Spruill, the senator from Northern Chesapeake.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to
the senator has the floor.
Thank you. The gentleman gave my whole speech. He was talking about the loved ones. In our caucus, the exact words you were talking about, I said in my caucus, we're talking about 325. And what about the rest of the thousands out there that may not benefit this? We're talking about 14 million. What happened after the 14 million? Do you really concerned about those who are working on the job and you know they are not really qualified to make what they are making them, but they're happy because they got somewhere to go out of the house? And that's my problem. So when I sympathize towards this 325, but when you talk about home, someone who I know that does not qualify for the minimum wage, I know, but they got a job because they are going somewhere, that they got something that when the end of the day, when that $40, $50 mean a lot to them because they got somewhere to go. And I'm afraid because we're so concerned about the 325, which I am also. But what about those who are not in part of this 325? What about after that 14 million? What about after that? Then what we're going back to? How do I say to my colleagues, please, don't hurt everybody else for 325 people. I'm supporting what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Chair recognizes Senator Bell, the senator from Loudoun.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
I've heard the testimony on this, I believe it was last year and this year, and probably very few bills that we face here in this chamber or in the committees touch my heart like this bill does. And I share the concerns of the gentleman from Bedford. I share my friend Senator Spruill's concerns as well. But I think there's a better way. And I think maybe we should consider taking this by temporarily to come up with it. Because frankly, we can gauge how long it's going to be before that federal grant runs out. And I would argue that we'd have a better option if we put a sunset clause on this and then we came back before then. And it would allow us to pay a higher wage to the folks who would benefit from this now, these 325 people, and then we'd have a couple of years to come up with a better solution. I think everyone wants to see the people get more money. And I think it would help many people in their self-esteem. I think using that money makes a lot of sense. The last thing, though, I want to do, and I share your concerns, is have people lose opportunity for a job. Because we price people out of a job, that's a problem. But I would argue if this money, I believe it's supposed to last about 3 years. If it gets us 3 years, we put a sunset on it for 3 years, and we have 3 years to come up with a way to fix this problem so nobody loses a job. So I asked the gentleman if he would yield for question, if he would be amenable to taking it by temporarily so we can discuss possibly, would that satisfy your concerns, a sunset clause?
Will the senator yield for a question?
I yield. Madam President, having heard the question, of course, I'd be pleased to have the bill go by temporarily or for the day to work on it. Let me just mention something that is going to be a struggle, and I don't know how we get there. In 3 years, if this particular minimum wage goes into effect, I'm just very concerned that those organizations are not going to be there and we're not going to be able to get to it because they will have to pay that amount. And I'm pretty sure that after you have $20,000 a person, assuming the 300 individuals is correct, and I have some concerns about that, what happens after that? So that's why the patron of the bill and I, we've tried to go down that road. We've talked directly about that. I just haven't been able to get there, and he's very compassionate too. He can't get there, and so I was hoping to put it in conference. But sir, I will do whatever you'd like to do. If you want to make a substitute motion that the bill go by temporarily or for the day, whatever you'd like to do, sir.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes again Senator Bell.
I move this bill go by for the day, and I'll just briefly say to that motion, I think our hearts are all in the right place. We all want to do the right thing here, and another day might give us a chance to figure this out and make this right. So with that, I move that we go by for the day.
Without objection? For what purpose does the senator rise? Senator Saslaw.
To speak on the bill, Madam President, before we vote on a motion, and to speak to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
There's a reason this bill was put in, and nobody told you that today. Guess what according to the Melwood Corporation, this is what they do. This is what this organization does. Guess what the average wage is for these people? Guess what? $3, national average, $3.34 an hour. Quite frankly, I don't know how anybody could pay that and look themselves in the mirror. That's disgusting. And there's no other way to describe that. It's disgusting. $3.34 an hour. You know, back in 2020, when I put in the bill to raise the minimum wage to where it is today at $12 an hour, all I heard was, well, outside of Northern Virginia, they're going to have to lay off everybody. They can't pay these wages. Guess what? Nobody's been laid off. Nobody's been laid off. They paid the wages. And quite frankly, like I said, I don't know how these people, any organization can pay an average $3.34 an hour. And there were some places that paid considerably less than that and looked themselves in the face. Now, you can let it go by for a day, but I can tell you that $3.34 an hour is not going to change unless this bill is passed. There was a reason that it passed the House 100-0 because they knew this.
The question is, shall the bill go by for the day? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The bill goes by for the day.
House Bill 1623, Eastern Virginia Groundwater Management Advisory Commission removes annual report by DEQ on committee. The committee amendments have been adopted by the Senate. I'm sorry. We have two floor substitutes.
Chair recognizes Senator Peterson, the senator from Fairfax City.
Thank you, Madam President. I would call up the first floor amendment proposed by Senator Peterson and move to waive the reading of that floor amendment.
The question is, shall the Peterson floor substitute?
Floor substitute, yes, I'm sorry, floor substitute.
Yes. Shall the Peterson floor substitute, the reading of it be waived? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute, the reading of it is waived. Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. This is House Bill 1623. I want to thank my colleague from Eastern Fairfax County who actually did the wordsmithing on this, but I think we're on the same page. We had a colloquy on Friday about this issue of DEQ and related agencies and committees writing reports that nobody was reading. And I think we've kind of, at least to a large extent, come to a consensus that we don't continue to need to be binding and mailing these reports off as physical copies. We do, however, should be memorializing the information. And you'll notice that the entire code section has to do with meetings, reports, and conclusions. And so there's really no reason to not go ahead and memorialize that information, but rather than mail it to people or bind it or print it out, just simply post a copy of the report on the website. And so I think this across the board covers that the work will still be memorialized in a condensed version on the website, but will no longer be bound and distributed to all the important people in Richmond, of which there are tens of thousands. So I would move we adopt the floor amendment.
The question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. Agreed to. Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. And I think that would render moot the deeds floor substitute. So I've just at this point moved to pass the bill and briefly speaking in support.
The senator has the floor.
I think the bill is a good idea. It's important that we reduce the amount of paperwork and additional staff time and printing costs for our agencies. This bill may go into conference or they may just accept it, but either way, I think it does make our government a little bit more efficient and less paper intensive. Thank you.
Yes. The position of the deeds substitute is now out of order. The question is, shall the Peterson floor substitute? I know. Shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The substitute passes.
House Bill 2101, DWR guidance documents developed to be filed for publication with Virginia Registrar of Regulations. Reported from the committee, the committee amendments have been adopted by the Senate.
Chair recognizes Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill pass and speak to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I was not well prepared on Friday, and I did my homework over the weekend. And basically, what this has to do is when there are permits that are faced by DEQ or VMRC, and they need input from Department of Wildlife Resources, DWR. This allows them to put together guidance documents that basically allow them to coordinate with those agencies. It does not change APA overview. These guidance documents are already outside the APA, but the question is whether or not they need to be posted on regulatory town hall. This basically just puts a structure in place. This is not an end run around. I know I'm getting a quizzical look from at least one person in the audience, but I've been assured this is not an end run around any sort of APA. This is already outside the APA. This is just so they can provide guidance on DEQ and VMRC permitting decisions. And with that, I ask that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 2282, forest crops, exemptions from Virginia Stormwater Management Program, etc. for harvesting. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Chair again recognizes Senator Peterson.
From Virginia Stormwater Management Program. It added an additional exemption. I voted against it, committee, so I'm probably not the right person to give it a positive explanation. It really had to do with the issue of whether or not timbering could occur on a site, and then subsequently the use could be transitioned to a development. So it'd be a development proposal, which would otherwise require a stormwater management plan and sign off from the appropriate authorities. So I'm probably not the right person to speak in favor of it. But having said that, I will make the motion that it pass with I'll make the motion that it pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 19, noes 21.
Ayes 19, noes 21. The bill fails.
House Bill 1622, Health Regulatory Board's delegation of authority to conduct informal fact-finding proceedings. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill pass. Speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
Okay, Madam President, what the bill does, it removes the requirements that a health regulatory board receive information that a practitioner may be subject to a disciplinary action in order for the board to delegate to an appropriately qualified agency subordinate the authority to conduct informal fact-finding procedures. And with that explanation, I renew my motion that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The bill passes.
House Bill 1635, Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act Uninhabitable Dwelling Unit. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
I move the bill pass. And speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Yes, HB 1635 has to do with habitability, basic habitability for a unit that someone has signed for. If within 5 days the unit is found to be uninhabitable, things like rodent infestations, lack of heat, lack of adequate sewage disposal facilities, this bill just provides a streamlined way for the contract to be ended. And again, I renew my motion that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 14.
Ayes 26, noes 14. The bill passes.
House Bill 1738, Virginia Freedom of Information Act, State Public Bodies, Meetings, Virtual Public Access. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator Eben.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a permissive bill that says that...
Your motion, sir?
I move the bill pass. And speaking to that...
The senator has the floor.
This is a permissive bill that says if a state public body has the technology in place for video conferencing or teleconferencing, that they can choose to allow public comment through that electronic communication method. It doesn't require it. And further, no cause of action will arise against a body if there's an electronic failure. Just allows us to use the technology that so many found convenient during the pandemic for public comment. Doesn't change the participation of members of the body in the meeting.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The bill passes.
House Bill 1748, Solicitation of Contributions, expands definition of solicitation, terms of contracts.
Senator Eben.
Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator Eben.
Thank you. I move the bill pass. Speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
HB 1748 updates a code section relating to professional solicitors to better reflect modern fundraising practices like email, and includes some straightforward consumer protection measures for civic and charitable organizations that seek help raising money. This bill addresses the issues faced by local organizations, which often contract out to professional solicitors to raise more money than they might otherwise on their own.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Senator Block.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1817, a bill relating to the disposition of unclaimed bodies, how disposition expenses paid, seizure of assets, reported from General Laws and Technology.
Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. Move the bill pass. And speaking to that motion,
The senator has the floor.
HB 1817 is a bill that would allow localities to recover the costs of cremation and burial for unclaimed decedents. The purpose of the legislation is to permit law enforcement agencies to recover burial cremation expenses for unclaimed remains from transferable on-death assets. The bill was put in at the request of the city of Stanton.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, no 7.
Ayes 33, no 7. The bill passes.
House Bill 1818, fire zones removes prohibition for creating in Augusta County. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Chair again recognizes Senator Eben.
I move the bill pass. And speaking to that motion,
The senator has the floor.
HB 1818 eliminates existing language which specifically prohibits Augusta County from establishing a fire zone. That's the only locality in the Commonwealth that's prohibited from doing so. All other localities in Virginia have this option. This would help them ensure adequate fire and rescue services throughout the county. I move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 9.
Ayes 31, noes 9. The bill passes.
House Bill 1911, Conflict of Interest Act, State and Local Government, Certain Gifts Prohibited, Foreign Countries. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator Eben.
I would move that bill go by for the day and speak to that motion briefly.
The senator has the floor.
I want to thank the senator from Southern? Senior senator from Chesapeake. I don't know. There might be one of the senators from Chesapeake for bringing up there's maybe discrepancy in the way it passed the Senate and the House version. So we're going to take a look at that and bring it back tomorrow.
Without objection, House Bill 1911 goes by for the day.
House Bill 1930, Virginia Self-Service Storage Act, Default by Occupant Watercraft. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Again, Senator Eben.
Yes, I move the bill pass. And speaking to that motion.
Would you like to accept the substitute?
Oh, I'm sorry. I move that we accept the committee substitute.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. Senator Eben.
I believe the bill now is in the identical posture of the legislation from the senator from Lynchburg. This has to do with...
Your motion, sir?
Move the bill pass.
The senator has the floor.
And with the posture the bill is currently in, I believe that it's the same as the senator from Lynchburg's legislation dealing with the repossession of like a boat in a storage unit, and it allows it to be moved off premises rather than just auctioned.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2. Rule 36-2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. Rule 36-2. The bill passes.
House Bill 1943, a bill relating to crime victim rights notification from the Attorney for the Commonwealth. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary.
Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass. Speaking to that
The
motion.
senator has the floor.
This bill is now identical to a bill that we passed, the Senate bill, and it simply requires the attorney of the Commonwealth, for the Commonwealth, to notify a victim of a plea agreement before it's signed off, before it's entered.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The bill passes.
House Bill 1952, a bill relating to pharmacies reporting of processing delays impacting patient safety.
For what purpose does the junior senator from Virginia Beach rise?
Having voted on the prevailing side on HB 1930, I ask that we reconsider the vote.
1930. What page is that, sir?
On page 37.
Yes, that's exactly right. We'll have to come back to it. The title of this other bill has already been read. Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that House Bill 1952 be re-referred to the Committee on Education and Health. And speaking to that further, Madam President.
The senator has the floor.
The bill was heard in subcommittee and after lengthy testimony was recommended to be passed by indefinitely with a letter to the Board of Pharmacy. When the bill was heard in full committee, the patron presented a new substitute with language that had not been considered before, and the stakeholders did not have time to evaluate the language. Upon review of the substitute, there is no peace in the valley on this language. I move that HB 1952 be referred to Education and Health so we can get it right next year.
Chair recognizes Senator Suderline, the senator from Roanoke County. Is the microphone?
Madam President.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking briefly to the motion.
The senator may continue.
Having spent a lot of time in the subcommittee, getting to hear all the thoughts of folks on it, then being in the full committee and having it presented there, I think that it's worth us considering on the floor this week if we want to go forward with it or not. It's in a different form than it passed the House of Delegates. So if we choose not to, I voted for it twice, but I think that it would be the pleasure of this body to act one way or the other. And if we take the substitute out of what came out of committee, it's likely going to go into conference after that. So I just don't think that we should short circuit the process right here. And maybe I'm a little more personally invested having spent 2 meetings on the subject, but I'd rather us have an up or down vote on it here rather than send it back to committee when the committee is not going to meet again.
Chair recognizes Senator Hashmi, the senior senator from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking in support of the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. As the chair of the Committee on Education and Health shared, some of the stakeholders that we had supported parts of the bill and others were against it. And the subcommittee, as Madam Chair shared, had recommended that we pass by indefinitely with a letter to the Board of Pharmacy. So when the full committee met on Thursday, we saw yet again another substitute that had not been seen before the meeting, and so there was considerable discussion among the stakeholders. There is no peace in the valley, and I would concur that this bill should be re-referred to the committee as Madam Chair recommended. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall HB 1952 be recommitted to the Committee on Education and Health? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The bill is re-referred to the Committee on Education and Health.
House Bill 2082.
Madam President.
For what purpose does the junior senator from Virginia Beach rise?
Having voted on the prevailing side, I ask that we reconsider the vote on HB 1930 on page 37.
The question is, shall the vote by which HB 1930 passed be reconsidered. All those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bill is reconsidered. Senator Eben.
I move the bill pass. This is the watercraft storage bill dealing with people who are in default and allowing them to move the watercraft rather than just auction it off immediately.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2. Rule 36, 2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. Rule 36, 2. The bill again passes.
House Bill 2082, a bill relating to Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, employees of the landlord, rental dwelling unit keys. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Chair recognizes again Senator Eben.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass. And speaking to that motion,
The senator has the floor.
This bill is, in a sense, a public safety bill. It requires the landlord who owns more than 200 rental dwelling units that are attached to the same piece of real estate to require any applicant for employment in the position with access to the keys to those 200 units to be subject to criminal history records check. It also requires the landlord must establish written policies and procedures for the storage, issuance, return, and security of access to unit keys and electronic key codes. The provisions of the bill do not apply to financial institution or real estate licensee. Again, we're just dealing with people who have access to a lot of people's residence keys and access codes.
Chair recognizes Senator McDougal, the senator from Hanover.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
I will yield.
Senator Eben yields. Senator McDougal has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I'd ask the senator, looking at, I guess it's Section 1 under B, it indicates that the employee has to be subject to a criminal records check. I thought that that was made impermissible earlier on in prior legislation. Is that inaccurate?
Senator Eben has the floor.
I'm not aware of, I know that we require like locksmiths to go through a criminal history check, so I'm not aware of any conflict there.
Madam President, I asked the gentleman additional
Further question. Will the senator yields? Senator McDougal has the floor.
Madam President, I recollect that there was legislation barring employers from going through background checks before making an offer of an employment. So does this put that in conflict? So those individuals that have to have this background check, now do they have to be interviewed and made an offer of employment before that background check could be in place?
It's not.
Senator Eben has the floor.
It's not in conflict. I believe that the legislation the gentleman's referring to had to do with government employment.
I think.
If he wants to point out where in the code it conflicts, I'd be happy to take it by if he'd prefer.
Madam President, speaking to the legislation.
The senator may continue.
Madam President, I think that it's a good idea to have these individuals that will go through a background check. The concern I raised is from legislation that I recall being passed, I believe 2 years ago, that has some prohibitions on background checks before individuals are employed, particularly in certain areas. So that was the reason for the question, if it created conflict. But having somebody that has that kind of access go through a background check, I think is a good idea.
I thank the gentleman for his support of the bill.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 5.
Ayes 34, noes 5. The bill passes.
House Bill 2098, a bill relating to common interest communities, authority of association to suspend right to use certain facilities. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben.
I ask that bill go by for the day so a substitute can be drafted.
Without objection, House Bill 2098 goes by for the day.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes Senator Suderline, the senator from Roanoke County.
Thank you, Madam President. Having voted on the prevailing side by which we agreed to pass House Bill 2082, I ask that that vote be reconsidered.
The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2082 passed be reconsidered? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The vote is reconsidered. Senator Eben.
I move this bill pass, and speaking to HB 2082, this is the public safety bill that your dwelling units, keys, and key codes would be protected, or at least those with access to them would be screened in the case of large complexes.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The bill passes.
House Bill 2168, a bill relating to Judicial Inquiry and Review Commission, breach of canons of judicial conduct. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with an amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Madam President, I move passage of the bill, and I'd like to speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, I did not vote for this bill in the committee, and I will not vote for it on the floor, but as chair of the committee, I've moved its passage. What the bill requires is the name, the judicial canon breached, and any action taken be part, or against any judge, be part of the Judicial Council's annual, or the JERC Commission's annual report. The amendment we made it perspective only. I didn't vote for this bill because I don't think it solves any problem that we have, but it's out there.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage will record their votes aye. Those opposed.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Rockingham County, Senator Obenshain.
I'd ask if the senator from Charlottesville would yield for a question.
Will the senator from Charlottesville rise and yield for a question?
I will, yes.
The senator yields. Senator Obenshain has the floor.
Madam President, I would ask whether this bill was conformed to match the provisions of Senator Morrissey's bill.
Senator Deeds has the floor.
It's my recollection that it was conformed to a Senate bill, but I don't recall who introduced that bill.
Madam President.
Senator Obenshain.
Speaking of the bill.
The senator may continue.
Only because I just think it's important to know what it is that we're voting on. My understanding is that it is conformed to Senator Morrissey's parole bill, which I did not vote for, but I think a significant majority of this body did vote for.
Chair recognizes Senator Peterson, the senator from Fairfax City.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Were you still speaking, sir?
Well, yes.
I'm sorry, Senator. You may continue.
100% in error and stand corrected. My comments may be entirely disregarded.
Senator Peterson has the floor.
All right. First, I want to thank my colleague for that candid admission of.
For what purpose does the senator rise?
I speak to the bill.
The senator may continue.
And note that we took out the language which made this retroactive back to 2016, which I think was that was somewhat pernicious. But this is only from December 1, 2023. I believe that's what it is. July 1, 2023 going forward. It says on or before December 1 of each year. So effectively, it's July 1, 2023 with the report to be December 1. And keep in mind, it says reporting on any judge who the Jerk Commission concluded had breached the canons of judicial conduct and took disciplinary action as a result of such conclusion. If the date the commission reached such conclusion and whether a previous previous annual report had been issued, the specific canons of judicial conduct breached by such judge, and the disciplinary action taken. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, you know, one of the biggest problems we've had, and I've discussed on the floor, is the opaque nature of judicial review, judicial censure. I mean, we have judges that complaints are made and nobody ever hears about it. Complaints are made to the jerk and nobody ever hears about it. And again, we made this prospective, so we're not going back and pulling, you know, I don't want to fight the battles that we've had over the years with some judges. That's done. This is prospective. But I think it is important that if the Jerk Commission found that a judge breached the canons of judicial conduct, that's something that ought to be publicly known. I don't know what the secret is. I mean, these folks are public employees. You know, they're not volunteers. So I'm actually going to vote for this bill, whatever.
Chair recognizes Senator Morrissey, the junior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. Would the gentleman from Charlottesville yield for a question?
Will the gentleman from Charlottesville rise and yield? The gentleman yields. Senator Morrissey has the floor.
I've heard the gentleman from Charlottesville speak time and time again about the importance of transparency and full disclosure and sunshine. Can the gentleman, and I ask this respectfully, tell the body why we would not want to know, why the Senate would not want to know the specific canons of judicial ethics that a judge violated?
Senator Deeds has the floor.
Madam President, I would note that among those people that voted against this bill in committee were Senators Edwards, Deeds, McClellan, Boysko, and Morrissey. You know, I can't speak for the gentleman, but for me, being a judge is a hard job, and we hold them to a great deal of scrutiny, and they have to make decisions and try to stay out of politics, try to stay out of taking sides, be an impartial arbiter of the facts of every case. And I just don't know that I think that by adding their name to a report, we add a level of scrutiny to that position that's just not fair.
The gentleman yield for another question.
Well, the senator from Charlottesville yield.
I will yield.
Senator yields. Senator Morrissey has the floor.
Does the gentleman not feel that this body ought to know the disciplinary action taken against a judge who we may be considering for reappointment, as opposed to the very generic responses that Jerk provides us?
Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I would say to the gentleman that, as he well knows, there are ways for people who are making decisions about appointment of judges, or re-election of judges, to find out when there are problems, to get some meat on the bones of those problems. There are also ways to make sure that the Jerk Commission is an effective mechanism for dealing with judges who get in trouble. You know, for example, there was a gentleman who ran that commission for many years that took care of many problems that, you know, ended up without judges being in trouble because they would leave the bench as a result of his investigations. And I would suggest to the gentleman that a thorough and investigatory system within the Jerk takes care of most problems on the bench.
Senator Morrissey.
I thank the gentleman speaking to the measure.
The senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of this body, Madam President, let me just focus on the last thing that the gentleman from Charlottesville said, and that was that the Jerk Committee takes care of things. Do you know how they take care of things? They don't tell us what they did. They don't even tell the complainant what the Jerk Committee did with regard to that person's complaint. And bear in mind, we're not talking about the Jerk Committee just telling us what the complaint was. We're talking about a complaint being filed, the Judicial Inquiry and Review Commission having a full-blown hearing, and then disciplinating that judge, taking action against them, and telling that judge, these are the ethical canons that you violated. That's what we're asking be disclosed. I don't think it's too much to ask, what are the specific canons of judicial conduct that you breached? Not that you were alleged to have breached, but what did you breach? I don't think it's too much to ask what the disciplinary action that was taken. That's what we're doing with this bill. So if you believe that we should handle things quietly, sweep them under the carpet, not let sunshine hit the Judicial and Inquiry Review Commission's determination that a judge was in violation of ethics canon, then vote for this bill. If you don't, vote otherwise. And I'll say this to the gentleman from Charlottesville: I have made mistakes before. I will make them again, and I must have made a mistake, and will correct that error when I voted in the Judiciary Committee nay. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke City.
Yeah, speaking to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
I voted against it. The reason is when judges come up for re-election, we do look at the jerk issues and do it in confidence. And I think that's the proper way to do it, rather than putting out there while the judge is still on the bench and defaming the judge publicly that way. The better way to do it is the way we've always done it. The committee looks at these issues in confidence before a judge is reelected.
Chair recognizes Senator Sorovel, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking of the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, I've gone back and forth on this one because it's actually a little more nuanced than I think people are leading on here. So, first of all, the Jerk Commission didn't actually come and speak to us about the effect this might have on the operation of the body, which I guess is consistent with not telling us what they do about anything. But I also tried to reach out to them over the weekend to get some feedback and couldn't get anything either. And so I would just put that out there for whatever it's worth. But we haven't really gotten feedback from Jerk about exactly how this will affect how they operate. And that has always given me a little bit of hesitation. But beyond that, part of the reason they operate the way they do is most of y'all don't understand the way attorney discipline works. But when people file bar complaints against lawyers, it's referred to a disciplinary. The state bar looks at it, screens out if they think there's nothing to it. If they think there's something to it, they then take it to a disciplinary committee. And that's a committee of attorneys that have been selected to review these things and pass judgment on them. And if the violation of the ethics rules is small, if it's not a big deal, then they can administer what's called a private admonition, which means they give the lawyer something that says, hey, listen, you broke this rule. Go take a class. Don't do it again, that kind of thing. But it doesn't become part of the public record. If what the lawyer does is a big deal, for example, like mismanaged trust funds or serious breach of some sort of the rules, that's when it can rise to a public level of discipline. And the reason that differentiation is important is because by having the sanction of the private admonition, I think those committees are more likely to find a violation and more likely to ask people to correct their behavior. Whereas, because, you're saying something about somebody's ethics, you're saying something about their competence, and so as soon as you make it that public, they're a lot less likely, I think, to find a violation if it's a minor violation, which means they're a lot less likely to correct the behavior. So, I think one of the downsides of making it all public is that they're less likely to find a violation when there is one, and they're less likely to actually discipline somebody. And so, there's a real balance in here somewhere, and I don't know exactly where it is, and I was hoping to hear from the Jerk Commission to help reconcile in my mind what we ought to be doing with this, because I think total secrecy is not good, but I think total openness is bad, and I don't think this bill really strikes the balance. This bill takes the needle all the way in one direction instead of the other, and I think as a result of that, our judges are probably going to receive less correction than they otherwise would. And so I think I'm going to change my vote on this and vote against it this time, but it's well-intentioned, and I think we need to do something. I'm just not sure that this is a solution.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. The bill passes.
House Bill 2284, a bill relating to waterworks and wastewater works operators and on-site sewage system professionals.
Chair recognizes.
For membership. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill pass and speak into that measure.
The senator has the floor.
House Bill 2284 removes from the membership of the board for waterworks and water waste works operations and on-site sewage system professionals, a facility member of a public institution of higher education in the Commonwealth whose principal field of teaching is management or operation of waterworks or wastewater works, and adds to the board's membership a local or regional representative of the Department of Health. Again, I renew my motion that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The bill passes.
House Bill 2371, a bill relating to the Alexandria Historical Restoration and Preservation Commission surety bonds for membership. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
This is identical to the bill from the senior senator from Fairfax that we passed 37 yes votes and then one abstention. It removes the requirement that members of the Alexandria Historical Restoration and Preservation Company pay a surety bond in order to serve on that board. It's kind of antiquated, and those bonds have not been found to be necessary.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 39, no 0, Rule 36-1. The bill passes.
House Bill 2441, a bill relating to the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, termination of multiple month-to-month tenancies. Reported for the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator Eben.
I move the committee substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. Senator Eben.
Thank you. I move the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
What this bill does is sees that like a mega landlord, someone who is in a position where they have multifamily premises that terminates 20 or more month-to-month tenancies within a single month, or more than 50%, whichever is greater, serve written notice on each tenant 60 days before the rental date, the next rent date. Basically, if someone's going to clear out a large complex, they have the ability to plan and give the tenants some notice, and that's what the bill does.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, no 17.
Ayes 23, no 17. The bill passes.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Chair recognizes Senator Sasloff, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move that all House bills on second reading on the uncontested and regular calendar, pages 40 through 79, House Bill 1368 through House Bill 2398, that the rules be suspended and the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on both the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 40 through 79, House Bills 1368 through House Bill 2398, be dispensed with? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I now move that those House bills go by for the day.
The question is, shall the House bills on both the uncontested and regular calendars now on their third reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
No, we still have more, Senator Saslaw. So, uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on third reading. Senate Joint Resolution 317, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated to the General Assembly February 1st, 2013.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you. I move the resolution pass and speaking to it.
The senator has the floor.
The resolution confirms Governor Youngkin's most recent appointees. I move it pass.
The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The resolution is agreed to.
Uncontested calendar, House Joint Resolution on second reading. House Joint Resolution 548, establishing a joint subcommittee to study the feasibility of establishing the Virginia Gaming Commission to regulate and oversee all forms of gaming in the Commonwealth. Report.
Chair now recognizes Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County. Oh, we have the blue calendar. Never mind.
Supplemental calendar number 1. Unfinished business House. House Bill 1512. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas.
Yes, ma'am, Madam President, thank you. And I move that the Senate insist and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendment and request a committee of conference on the bill? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate insists on its amendment and requests a committee of conference on the bill.
House Bill 1691. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
Chair again recognizes Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that we insist and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate insists on its substitute.
House Bill 2294. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola, the senator from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference on the bill? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate insists on its substitute and requests a committee of conference on the bill.
Unfinished business, Senate. Senate Bill 894 has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Newman, the senator from Bedford.
Madam President, I move the House amendment be agreed to, and speaking of that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, you can see that they left off the words of the Code of Virginia after the code section, so it's merely technical.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 904. The House has passed the House. It's passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator DeStaff, the senior senator from Virginia Beach.
Madam President, I move that we accept the House substitute, or the House substitute be agreed to. Speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, on this bill, what the House substitute does is it conforms it to one of the other bills that one of their members had, and it eliminates one of the training requirements, which truly does no harm to the bill. We're good with that. So with that, I move that we accept the substitute from the House.
The question is, shall the Senate accept the House substitute on Senate Bill 904? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 924 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator DeStaff.
Madam President, I move that we accept the substitute from the House, and speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
And Madam President, what this does is it adds the Guard and Reserve to veterans' spouses that can also be buried in the cemeteries next to them. So with that, Madam President, I move that we accept the House substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate accept the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 948 has passed the House with amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator Suderline, the senator from Roanoke County.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendments to Senate Bill 948. And speaking briefly to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I know that my seatmate doesn't like it when we ever adopt the position of the other chamber, so I'm happy to let him and everyone else know this is also the position that we previously adopted in this chamber. What it seeks to do is the bill, SB 948, dealing with allowing pharmacists to initiate various treatments. It will now also include COVID-19, which is something that we have previously done on this floor. And I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to adopt the amendments.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 970 has passed the House with amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator Mason, the senator from Williamsburg.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move the House amendments be agreed to. And speaking of that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the effort that we've been taking to rethink how we ask the mental health questions to doctors. As we continue to work on it, we've expanded it to say that each health regulatory board within the Department of Health. So anybody that asks these questions, we just broaden it out, and we've instructed on how that question will be asked, hopefully to have people more comfortable asking and seeking the help that they may need. With that explanation, Madam President, I move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1002 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Cosgrove, the senior senator from Chesapeake.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like this to go by for the day. That this really is a companion bill to one that we took by earlier.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1002 goes by for the day.
Senate Bill 1072 has passed the House with an amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Bell, the senator from Loudoun.
Thanks, Madam President. I move that we accept the amendment. And speaking to the motion,
the senator has the floor.
It's a pretty simple amendment. This is the bullying notification bill that I spoke about before on the floor. It just adds the words learning of. So the notification would have to be done by the principal within 1 day after learning of. So it was clarified just so the time clock wouldn't start before they were actually aware of the situation. With that, again, I renew the motion to accept this amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1079 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Cosgrove, the senior senator from Chesapeake.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask that we agree to the House substitute. There's a minor change, and I'll speak to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. The House bill is almost identical, except that it also includes in the language the Rappahannock Transportation Commission as a rail line operated by, the Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission. They're added into the bill. So I move the bill pass. We accept the House substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate accept the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1106 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Newman, the senator from Bedford.
Madam President, with the recommendation that it be rejected, I move that the substitute be agreed to.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? With the recommendation that it be rejected, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The Senate does not concur.
Senate Bill 1171 has passed the House with amendments.
Chair recognizes Senator Donovan, the senator from Henrico.
Thank you, Madam President. With the recommendation that we agree to the amendments, I move the amendments and speak to them.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President and members of the body, these are language changes that we made on the floor here to the companion bill that we have that were recommended by the SCC after they spoke with the federal government about the AHP plan for restaurants in the restaurant industry. So this aligns this with the bill we've already sent back to the House from them, and I move we concur with the amendments.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1175 has passed the House with a substitute with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Madam President, I move that the House amendment with the substitute be agreed to.
The senator has the floor.
Yes, Madam President, it's a technical amendment. What it does is it strikes the word 5 on line 3 and inserts the word 8, and that brings it in line to the intent of the bill, which was to make sure that the literacy program was for grades 4 through 8. So with that, I renew my motion to concur with the House amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute with amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1198 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes the senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I have not had a chance to look at the substitute, so I would ask it to go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 1198 goes by for the day.
Senate Bill 1221 has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Obenshain, the senator from Rockingham.
Thank you, Madam President. With the recommendation that be rejected, I move that the House amendment be agreed to.
And would you like to speak to it, sir?
Knowing how attached Senator from Eastern Fairfax is to the amendment that attached in the Senate and the fact that the House stripped it out, I think we need to have a little bit more conversation about this bill.
The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments to Senate Bill 1221? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The Senate does not concur.
Senate Bill 1261 has passed the House with an amendment.
Chair recognizes again Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam President. With the recommendation that we concur with the amendments, I'd like to speak to them.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a bill that we saw in the House version where we removed we made the same edit that was put on by the Senate Finance Committee that basically said non-general funds will be used for the work group, and we have heard from the SCC and the Bureau of Insurance that is not needed, so it's just striking that language so the two bills match. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1262 has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator McDougal, the senator from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the amendments be agreed to.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, the amendments to this was the Rappahannock River Basin Commission, and the amendments added in that didn't do anything substantively except that the chairperson had to be elected annually.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1270 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Edwards, the senator from Roanoke City.
Yeah, Madam President, I move that the Senate accept the amendment.
The senator has the floor.
Accept the substitute from the House. What the bill is a recommendation of the Joint Commission on Health Care. And the problem is that Medicaid patients typically go to the emergency room rather than seeing a primary care physician. And the Joint Commission is recommending getting data to help the primary care physicians to get paid quicker and more timely and so forth with regard to Medicaid. So it's a data collecting process, and so I recommend that the amendment from the House be agreed to, the substitute from the House be agreed to.
The question is, shall the Senate concur on the House substitute? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs. The Senate will temporarily be at ease in order to have the system be rebooted. The Senate will come to order. Madam Clerk.
Senate Bill 1313 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Bell, the senator from Loudoun.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the House substitute and speak to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
The substitute included several minor technical amendments and rewording at the request of DGS, so we incorporated that in bill there, and now both the House and Senate versions are in agreement. This, by the way, is the reenactment from the bill that was heavily debated last year over subcontractor payment clauses. We did a working group over the summer that made the recommendations that ended up in this bill. With that, I recommend that we adopt the substitute.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
That's it.
Madam President?
That's it.
I'm going to announce the
Ayes
vote.
40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. Senate bill comes to a rolling approval. Senator Mason.
Senator Bell. He is
Senator
a good-looking
Bell.
guy. Madam President, having voted on the prevailing side by which HB 2282 failed, move that we reconsider the vote.
What page is that, sir?
35.
Going back to the other calendar. Sir, if you can hold and let's finish this calendar, I thank you. Yes.
Senate Bill 1372 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Vogel, the senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Madam President. I move adoption of the substitute and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a license plate bill, and I believe that everyone would agree that the House version is an improvement over the bill that I introduced. The bill that I introduced actually would have said that the license plate is for the woman veteran only, and there were some complications with that because how can you actually be assured through some of the application and registration process that it is in fact a female veteran only? And so the House version of the bill actually just is a supporter of women's veterans, and by making this more generic, it's going to be much simpler to process. And so with that, I would ask adoption of the substitutes.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1388 has passed the House with a substitute with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Lewis, the senator from Accomack.
Madam President, I move that the House substitute be agreed to, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, members of the Senate, when 1388 left here, it was somebody. It has returned bloodied with its head bowed. But it was a robust study bill for the menhaden fishery, localized depletion, the crucial question of our time in regards to the menhaden. But now it is a study of a study. So essentially what the House folks, or what the other body decided was appropriate was to have the Virginia Institute of Marine Sciences come back by September 1st of this year to tell us what the plan is for the study, who should do the study, and what resources are required of the study. So at least it keeps, and I don't think a conference would be productive at all on this issue, as we all know. And so I think to keep the issue alive and back in front of the Assembly next year, this is the best we can do. So I renew my motion that we concur with the House substitute.
Swimming upstream. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the substitute with amendment from the House? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1397 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Soroville, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we concur with the House substitute and speak to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill has to do with the state benchmark health plan. This is the big bill. The one you're going to see in a minute, a couple bills down here is the little bill. This is the bill that sets up the process for the future updating of our benchmark health plan. And the version that we sent out, first of all, the bill was approved by the HIRC, Health Insurance Reform Commission, I think the day before session. The bill that we sent out had one amendment that was made, however, that that prescribed who should sit on the work group and the different things the work group should look at before the benchmark plan was recommended. The House did not like our addition, and instead of having to fight about it, I figured we'd just stick with what the HIRC recommended the day before session started, and that's basically what the change is. And I would ask that you adopt the House substitute.
The question is, shall the House substitute be agreed to? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1399 has passed the House with an amendment.
Chair again recognizes Senator Soroville.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move that we concur in the House amendment and speak to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the little bill, and what this one does is basically gives direction to the State Bureau of Insurance to go to the feds to get our new benchmark plan approved. Our new benchmark plan has 2 new benefits in it. It's some kind of formula for infants, I forget what it's called, and then prosthetic devices, which I think was the Senator from Virginia Beach's bill. But anyway, we have to pass a law sort of affirming what we've done before in order to give the feds what they want to start this process. That's basically what this does. Please don't ask me to explain the word changes, because it gives me a headache every time I have to get into the nitty-gritty of the actual statutory language. But this basically, according to the Bureau of Insurance, is what we have to do to start the process to get our benchmark plan updated. So it's mostly technical, the changes.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 1460 has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the amendment be agreed to, and speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
This is a bill to make appointed school board members take the same conflict of interest training that elected school board members do, and to make all conflict of interest filings due on the same day. The amendment is technical because I forgot to move it in committee on the Senate side, so I ask that we accept it.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Joint Resolution 258 Been agreed to by the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Hackworth, the senator from Tazewell.
Yes, Madam President. I move that we concur with the House amendment.
The senator has the floor.
Yes, Madam President. This actually just strikes lines 57, 58, and 59 from the House Joint Resolution, which is the clause. And we take that off.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The Senate concurs with the amendment. Senator Bill.
Thank you, Madam President. Having voted on the prevailing side for which HB 2282 was defeated, I move that we reconsider that vote.
And again, the page, sir?
35.
Page 35. The question is, shall the vote by which HB 2282 failed be reconsidered? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The vote is reconsidered.
Madam President.
Senator Bell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that HB 2282 go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 2282 goes by for the day. Chair recognizes Senator McPike, the senator from Prince William.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to reconsider the vote which we adopted the House amendments to Senate Joint Resolution 258.
What, on the blue calendar?
On the blue calendar, page 10.
Page 10. The question, the senator may continue if he wishes. Yes, sir.
I believe that the lines deleted were the clause, and I don't know that Finance and Appropriation has fully considered that as of yet. So, thank you.
The question is, shall the voice vote by which Senate Joint Resolution was agreed to be reconsidered? Reconsidered. Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The voice vote is reconsidered. This will now be a recorded vote. Senator Hackworth? Or Senator?
Yes, I renew my motion that Senate Joint Resolution 258 pass. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
So this is in the Senate version. It's not, I think, in the House version. And so we ask that it pass. Concur with the House amendment. Thank you.
Madam President.
For what purpose does the senator from Southern Fairfax County rise?
Yes, can this go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Joint Resolution, Senate 258 goes by for the day. Chair recognizes finally now Senator Saslaw.
Madam President, I require the clerk to complete the calendar.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator Peterson, the senator from Fairfax City.
Thank you, Madam President. Rise for an announcement.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, I'd ask if the members of the Agricultural, Conservation and Natural Resources could meet at my desk immediately upon adjournment to take up a report from the all-important Domestic Companion Animals Committee. Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Chair recognizes the senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Madam President, I would ask if the Committee on Rules could meet at my desk upon the companion animals adjourning. I'm first.
Rules is first.
Oh, I'm first, before the companion animals, to take up one matter.
Membership has its privileges. Is there any other business? Hearing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Monday, February 20th, the Committee on Rules will meet immediately upon adjournment at the chair's desk. Immediately upon adjournment, Rules, chair's desk. The Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources will meet immediately upon adjournment of the Committee on Rules at the chair's desk. Not the Rules chair, the chair of Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. The Committee on Commerce and Labor will meet 30 minutes after adjournment, Senate Room A, Pocahontas. This is a time change. The Committee on Finance and Appropriations will meet upon the adjournment of Commerce and Labor in Senate Room A, Pocahontas. This is a scheduled change. Glad I don't have a dog in this fight. Tuesday, February 21st. Democratic Caucus will meet a half hour before session in Senate Room 1 in the Capitol. Republican Caucus will meet 1 half hour before session, Senate Room 2 in the Capitol.
Chair now calls on Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow and that the Senate suspend the rules and direct the clerk to accept memorial and commending joint resolutions to be introduced until 5 p.m. today.
The question is, shall the Senate adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow and that the Senate suspend the rules and direct the clerk to accept memorial and commending joint resolutions to be introduced until 5 p.m. today? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate does now stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow, and the Senate has suspended the rules and directed the clerk to accept memorial and commending joint resolutions to be introduced until 5 p.m. today.